Thank you for staying with us. The chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Olukoyede, has revealed that the agency has uncovered a religious sect in Nigeria alleged to be laundering proceeds of fraud. Mr. Olukoyede spoke at a one-day dialogue in Abuja. TVC News correspondent Celestina Area has details in this report.
An investigating officer of the EFCC, while giving his evidence in chief, showed a video clip containing an interview of Mr. Idris at the office of the commission. He said after the interview, Mr. Idris made statements regarding what was discussed in the interview. The statement and the interview were both in respect to an allegation of 109 billion naira fraud against the former AGF. The former Accountant General had alleged that the statement was made under duress. The prosecution counsel told the court that the video clip sought to be tendered was to counter the claim made by the defendants that they were interrogated in the absence of their lawyer and without video recordings. After the video was tendered as evidence and shown in court, Chris Uche commenced cross-examination against the witness. The witness agreed that the 15-minute video clip evidence played before the court did not cover everything that occurred during the interview with the former AGF that lasted almost 2 hours. After listening to the cross-examination, Justice Halilu adjourned the trial to March 20, 2024. The trial judge also dismissed his initial order revoking the bail of Geoffrey Akindele, one of the defendants in the trial. Mr. Akindele, who is the second defendant in the case, and Ahmed Idris are standing trial alongside Mohammed Kudu Usman and Gezawa Commodity Market and Exchange Limited on a 14-count charge on diversion of public funds to the tune of 109 billion naira.
What happened is we just called our first witness of trial within trial to show that those statements were voluntarily made. As you can see, trial has continued as the learned prosecuting counsel said. You know, they called their witness and then brought this video recording, which at the end of the day, you saw that the questions showed that video recording, its relevance is very doubtful.
A trial within trial is conducted by a court to determine if a witness statement or a defendant statement was given under duress or voluntarily. Celestina Area, TVC News, Abuja. The Anti-Graft Agency believes religion plays a big role in the security of a country as well as the fight against corruption. The EFCC says it is important to engage religious organizations and institutions in creating awareness on the downside of cybercrime. The chairman of the EFCC also accused some religious organizations of link with suspected money launderers.
That's the matter we are handling. A pyramid scheme of that involving over 30 billion naira fleeced from Nigerians. We were able to trace about over 7 billion to a particular religious body. Write a letter to the leader of that religious sect. We did. We got a restraining order stopping us from inviting them, stopping us from recovering the money, issue of money laundering. Somewhere in this country, there's a particular religion, a sect, that laundered money for terrorists. Laundered money for terrorists. Religious faith. And these are the problems that we are battling with.
President Bola Tinubu was represented by the Vice President Kashim Shettima. He says the federal government will continue to provide the Anti-Graft Agency the necessary tools required to fight corruption.
Only it's hardening and disenchanting, but stultifying and heartbreaking that yesterday when the naira plummeted to 1,500 to the dollar, instead of us to coalesce into a single force and salvage our nation's economy.
Why should we continue to make a governance very, very attractive? Why? We are the one aiding and abetting crime ourselves. Why should you encourage everybody to be the president? It's only one person that will lead us. Why should you encourage everybody to be governors? Why should you continue to create an avenue for all our leaders to be all in all?
From October 2023 to January 19, 2024, the EFCC has recovered 60.9 billion naira, $10.5 billion, 150,000 pounds sterling, and 4,119 euros. Celestina Iria, TVC News, Abuja.
Well, joining us in the studio to discuss this development is a lawyer, public affairs analyst, Jide Ologun. And we also have here a clergyman, Ejiro Sagwa. Gentlemen, good morning.
Morning.
It's good to have you join us this morning to discuss this.
My pleasure. Thank
Right.
you.
Let me begin with you, Mr. Sagwa. We know religious leaders, although there were speculations, right, that it was a church and all of that, but the EFCC have come out to clear the air that it's neither a church or a mosque that is involved when they are talking about a religious sect. So they know who were the persons or the religious sect that was involved. But let me ask this question. How did we get to this point where persons that people revere and see as people who are supposed to show that moral value, people who should exude that life that people should emulate, now becoming part of crime and criminality?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I want to say EFCC boss is doing a good job by trying to reach out to the youths. I'm very, very passionate about youths, and talking to them to, look at the values of hard work, integrity, that's very important. Where we are now, we didn't just get here. I'm not surprised to hear of what I'm hearing now, because some years ago, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, someone told me that money laundering is taking place in religious organizations, right? And the person who told me was a very senior person in all these regulatory bodies in Nigeria.
Wow.
So I'm not surprised. Now you're asking, why are we here?
How did we get
why is
here?
this happening?
Right.
It's a rottenness in the system that has been on for decades. We say religion, we don't want to be specific. I saw some headlines yesterday, but religion is meant to guide people towards proper moral values.
Absolutely.
Okay, so if we associate religious sects or religious organizations with such things like money laundering and terrorism, I don't think the problem is the religion. The problem is the operators of the religion.
Right.
As a Christian, I know what the Bible says. If you want to put money laundering, Jesus Christ said, that if you want to give an offering, then you get to the altar and you have something against someone.
Yeah.
Go and settle that matter first before you come and give your offering. So it's not a Christian thing to glorify giving of money. Okay? It's not a Christian thing to glorify giving of money. God is more interested in your relationship with him, in your heart. Okay, so when you have cases like this happening, I'm speaking for the Christian because that's my constituency.
Absolutely.
When you have cases like this happening, then you question the values of the leadership. You question the values that are running the systems that are supposed to be godly. So if this is being mentioned, I think it's an indictment on the systems generally, religious systems, and the overall picture of Nigeria. It is not only religious bodies that are engaged in, allegedly engaged in things like money laundering and all this. You have corruption making headlines everywhere.
Absolutely.
I was doing my calculation. I was still using 1,400 per dollar, and I did 7 billion to bill about $5 million. $5 million. If we are saying such money was laundered into a religious organization, and it's according to reports in the news, it was paid into a bank account. There's no difficulty there in tracing it.
Right.
So it's not supposed to
the
be.
banks are culpable.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be a sensational thing. If investigations are being carried out, you don't need to make noise about it at this stage. You understand? It's about getting to the root of it and, letting us know when you are taking them to court or convicting them. Because right now, it's neither here nor there. And I know, like I said initially, I think the EFCC boss is doing a good job by going to the youths. I haven't given up on those 50 above. I'm in that category. But I focus more on the 15 to 25, 15 to 30. You know, because that's Nigeria. That's the future of Nigeria. You know, if the examples that are being set for the youths today, if they are good examples, then we will not be where we are. Youths are
So
involved.
invariably, those that went ahead of those found culpable now did not set a good example. That's what you're
Definitely
saying.
not.
Right.
Definitely.
We'll come back to this conversation when we return from this break. Stay with us. Before we went on the break, we were talking about the EFCC's revelation saying that a religious sect in Nigeria is alleged to be laundering proceeds of fraud, and they have come out to clear the air that this is neither about the church or about the mosque, but they know who these persons are. And we've been speaking with a lawyer, public affairs analyst, Jide Olugun, as well as a clergyman, Ijiru Sagwa, who has been speaking with us before we went to the break. Now, let me come to you now, Jide Olugun, the perspective of the handling of this matter by the EFCC. There's been a divergent reaction with regards to how the EFCC is handling this case. Yes, we must acknowledge the effort the EFCC is making at addressing this issue, but the fact that the persons involved are resisting the EFCC from, you know, carrying out what is needful to get to the root of the matter. And then the EFCC now coming out to tell us, you know, there's a religious sect that we have found. Isn't that, you know, seemingly going to botch the case? We know we have talked about media trials and all of it, but talk to us from your perspective, how you interpret how the EFCC is handling this case in particular.
Excellent concern, and I drift in the direction of your concern because I'm not happy about it at all. But before then, let me commend EFCC, who reportedly secured about 3,785 convictions in year 2022. And the chairman told us he has secured about 747 convictions against cybercrime this year alone. Commendable. But let's now come back to this big picture of a religious body, which in law we say is a bogus expression. You know, if they are religious bodies within the confines of our laws, they should be registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission. All right, so those behind the body, the trustees, should be known to us. And I am of the opinion that we are not serious about fighting corruption and insecurity in Nigeria.
How so?
Security is the absence of danger and threat and how you facilitate that. Let me take us to another jurisdiction completely, talking about system. Dubai, the UAE, arrested 6 sponsors of Boko Haram, prosecuted them, jailed 2 with life imprisonment, the remaining with 10 years imprisonment. Why? Because they do not tolerate money laundering and sponsoring of terrorism. That is a functional system. Now, let's come to EFCC. EFCC came to the stage in 2003 as part of a national response to an accusation from the Global Joint Task Force against money laundering. Nigeria was named as one of the 23 countries that is making that assignment difficult globally. So we came up with the EFCC. But where are we today with the EFCC? So when you are now claiming that this religious body went to court to obtain a court order that you should not proceed, go and appeal it. But I'm just asking who exactly is in charge.
Right.
Because this, my great nation, revealed to the world that about 400, not less than 400 sponsors of Boko Haram were identified. I understand English very well. So I need to know, out of the 3,785 convicts, how many of them were sponsors of terrorism. And we want to be free from insecurity.
Absolutely.
But am I surprised? I'm not. Even the former acting chairman of EFCC, who was removed from office based on some allegations, never got prosecuted. And when you talk about the criminal justice value chain, there are three main pillars. You talk about thorough investigation, diligent prosecution, and a committed judiciary.
Right.
You see, so now, and when you look at the meaning of religious body, it can be interfaith denominational, it can be ecclesia, it can be a sect, it can be cult, because cult is not necessarily something that is evil. And in the course of investigation, you are doing a thorough and forensic examination to identify facts that will help you in that matter. And let me now take us to the United Kingdom. Before the Ekweremadus were arrested, the UK already concluded investigations.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the prosecution only lasted for about 6 weeks. And even though Chief Olusegun Obasanjo wrote a letter from another jurisdiction, another system, that be compassionate, the UK said, we don't run our system on the platform of compassion. The Vice President just revealed to us the rate, the exchange rate. So we've read, okay, now, we were reading about the Betty Edu gate. Where are we there now? Where are we? The Ikoyi gate. If it's just about recovering money, congratulations. But Nigeria is being set on the course of fire because crime is being reinforced on a daily basis. Who cares whether it's a religious body or anybody can disguise to be anything? I've asked this simple question. Are we now saying the oil thieves in Nigeria don't practice any religion, or they are not from any ethnic group, they are from the Pluto or another planet? The other time, the minister, one of the federal ministers, was telling us that powerful people are behind illegal mining. Who are the powerful people? So, well, let me coast down to what the Constitution mandates. If you look at Section 15, subsection 5 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, it says clearly that the state shall abolish, not may, corrupt practices and abuse of power. So if we have come up with, a law enforcement agency that can be manipulated or whatever, you see, I commend EFCC for anything fighting crime, but you see, we need to wake up and get serious. This morning now, a report came out. Another traditional ruler has been killed in his palace in Ekiti State, and his wife abducted. You read about what is going on in Benue. We were seeing the other time the sophisticated weapons that these terrorists and bandits are brandishing. So what are we talking about? Niger Republic is hostile to Nigeria now, so they may not be bothered about your...
Is it so difficult for us to hold persons to account in this part of what really is the issue why we cannot bring persons to account? It's because that's the question on the lips of every ordinary Nigerian. It's not making sense to them.
It's what I just said. Maybe in the next 1 month, there is nothing on Betty Edu and her gang again. And we have a very interesting provision in our Constitution about criminal justice.
Right.
That the accused, even now being referred to as defendant, is presumed innocent until that case is proved beyond all reasonable doubt. But go and Google. The United Arab Emirates mentioned the names of the sponsors of Boko Haram. I think they even sent a list to Nigeria.
Yes.
And so your question, because the powerful know how to cover their tracks and themselves. But let me say this. The insecurity of one is the insecurity of all. There was a time I said it in this country that if there is trouble at your gate, it may get to your bedroom. Now kings are being kidnapped, kings are being killed. Abuja is no longer safe by perception. So where exactly are we going? And we have at about 40 law enforcement agencies in Nigeria. There had been reports. Tompolo came out to challenge some of the state actors in this country for being involved in oil theft. What have we done about it? Right. We're reading a report, I don't know how many have read it, of a top naval officer that is being accused of being involved in this oil theft issue. Yes. We cover all these things. But let me say this. You see, under the Industrial Psychology Academy, you have what you call reinforcement theory. If we don't get serious about fighting crime, it gets so reinforced to the point that even in your armored vehicle, you may not be safe. Because everything has, particularly when you're talking about organization, we started with Boko Haram. Where are we now? Right. Islamic States of West Africa and this Al-Qaeda. Whether they are religious body, anybody who is sponsoring crime, it should be dealt with.
All right. Let's quickly go on another break. When we return, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us. All right, thank you for staying with us. We're still looking into the matter of the revelation made by the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, where he says a religious sect, or where he alleged that a religious sect is laundering proceeds of fraud. And we still have our guests in the studio, Jide Ologun, as well as Ejiro Sagwa. Let me come to you now, Ejiro. You mentioned something earlier about a younger generation and the impression that this is making. That is where I'm headed, because he said something. If we are not deliberately ensuring that we bring people to book, hold people to account for their actions against the state, against people, in terms of crime, criminality, corruption, it's something that is not painting a good picture at the end of the day. Tell us about the implication for young persons, despite efforts that people like you are making to raise future leaders for this country. As a religious leader, first, what are you getting from young persons whom you engage, who are seeing these things and are really impressionable? At the end of the day, what are you reading and the implication?
Okay, first of all, I belong to a religious organization that believes in raising role models. Right. Okay? So we are not going to be relying on government. The examples being set by some public officers to use as a benchmark for proper behavior.
Absolutely.
So there are some Christian organizations that are guiding youths on integrity, okay, accountability, proper leadership, okay? So they do the right thing.
But they'll still go into the society.
Yes, you can make a difference. You see, what does it say? Come out from among them. You can be different. That's the idea. If it's about change, change does not start with the majority. You have people that pioneer change, and when others see that it is working, then they buy into that change. So for the youths, I have a personal experience. I think yesterday or day before yesterday, my daughter, she's 23 this year, and they got an information that they have postponed their exams by a month. And I said, look, just be positive. She said, look, Dad, how do I want to be positive? You understand that these people are wasting our time. And you know what I said? You know what I said? I said, please, don't push it to me. I couldn't say anything again. Don't push it to me. So the youths are very, very frustrated with the Nigerian system. But we are working with that frustration, working with them to channel it to some positive, direction, creativity. Youths are very creative, very, very creative. Nigerian youths are very creative. IT, AI, fashion, all those things. So when you are in a religious organization that thinks about tomorrow, you gather the youths together and start training them. Okay, like I said, the religious organization I belong to believes in raising role models. So everything that makes you a role model as a Christian, you're dealing with the character of Jesus Christ, you are dealing with the competence of Jesus Christ, you are dealing with the capacity of Jesus Christ. So if you are raising them to be so, they are going to be different. Their operation will be counter-cultural. The system in Nigeria is such that, claps for criminals and laughs at honest people. But that has to change. Yes, of course. Otherwise, why would criminals or fraudsters have police escort? I'm sure we know that. It's not new. You understand? Why would those people who we call in our Nigerian way Yahoo boys How come they are going about with siren? It happens, if we don't see these things, then maybe we need to go and get some more information out there. Right. Criminals are being covered up. Why covering up? If you say somebody has been taken to, you have made an appeal that somebody has done something to do with money laundering, then why are you hiding his identity? Why are you covering it and say religious? Ooh, you cannot register a religious organization or a church or a mosque. You have to pass through Corporate Affairs Commission. There are trustees there. So
but that we have some mushroom churches who have not
money
registered.
has gone into an account, that account cannot be opened without proper documentation. You have your NIN, you have your identification, utility bills. So if 7 billion has entered into a religious body's account, and it's not difficult to grip somebody. It's not something like hiding, so that's why, like he said, there's some sign of unseriousness in prosecuting wrongdoing in this country. When people are getting away with all these things, we have to now look at it. You ask questions. I was somewhere and they asked the youths there, what is the easiest way to make money in Nigeria? They all said politics. You understand? Because of what they see. Because of what they see. Right. They see the convoys, okay? They see the lifestyles, and they don't match it. Those people with those convoys and those people with those lifestyles making so much money, what impact are they making? Is Nigeria getting better? So it starts from just leave the government alone and now focus on how can individuals, families, religious organizations be able to mold the youths to have a future and a hope. What do you see today? That's why you see a mass exodus. Some people have said, let's not call it Jackpot anymore. Let's call it global, global assignment, and you're going somewhere else to learn something better. But if Nigeria was truly very, very okay for them, would they be living? The answer is no. So it's a failure of institutions, not just government. Also religious institutions, right? Because you go to some places and you hear some messages and, pay 10,000 now and get, He
mentioned something earlier that I want you to touch on. He mentioned something earlier that persons who have been nabbed as being part of those perhaps who are oil thieves and, perpetuate this act, they go to certain religious organizations. They go to whether a church or a mosque, and they even bear the names, and you can identify them with those names. Is that a failure of this religious sect not making the needed impact in the lives of these people?
I won't shy away from it. People criticize Christianity a lot. They talk about tithe and all that, okay? If somebody makes money, some people, they believe that even if they steal, they should pay tithe on that money, okay? And there are some religious leaders who encourage them to pay tithe, and when you pay tithe, everything is okay. It's not so. So there are people that are preaching the wrong gospel out there, and that's why we come out and say, look, righteousness, holiness, you can't take it away. God is not going to accept your money because God doesn't use our money. The money that we give to church is to run the church systems, make you comfortable, AC, put all the things and pay salaries. God doesn't use the money. So if you focus, like the article on this 7 billion thing, they said that religious leaders should focus on preaching messages that encourage hard work. There's a process to making money. It's not everybody that's going to make the money overnight. No. When we encourage that, then things start getting better. But our leaders, our position office holders need to help the youths as well with the way they live. With the lifestyles that they display. It's not everybody that has a lot of money that got the money fraudulently. No. But our religious beliefs, encourage moderation. The fact that I have a billion...
It's supposed to encourage moderation.
Our religious beliefs encourage. Not supposed to. It now depends on the adherents, on the followers, if they choose to follow or not. What did the Bible say? It says, this is the way. Choose either go this way leads to life, this way leads to death, but choose life. So everyone has a choice. It's just like the traffic lights. The traffic light is on red, means you should stop. But does everybody stop? No. You understand? So the religious organizations, they have their guidelines, moral values that if you follow, you will not go wrong of the law. But those who practice the religion don't always follow.
And you cannot blame the pastor that his congregation member went to steal. Because if the pastor is preaching, do not steal, and the congregation member goes to steal, what does the pastor do? He keeps on encouraging them. Now look at the issue of tithe. If somebody commits fraud and makes 7 million and transfers 700,000 to the church account, how is the pastor going to know that he got the money from fraud?
Fraudulent.
You know, there are some people that are obviously questionable. I have an example. In a church that I talked about raising role models, a friend of mine received some performance bonus from office. So his tithe became very high, and he transferred it, and he got a call from the church. How come? And that is an excellent system, but how many
can do that?
You know, it's about trying to make sure that there's integrity in the way you make your money. God does not accept stolen money. You know, these things should be preached. Of course, when you preach these things, then the people don't get much money in the church anymore. But it needs to be preached that it is the right, getting money the right way that God accepts. And he says that, you see, there's a way that seemeth right unto a man, but at the end is destruction. Absolutely. The blessings of the Lord maketh rich and add no sorrow. So God does not encourage it. So if people are trying to criticize Christianity, but no, it's not the problem of Christianity. It's the problem of the individual Christian who chooses to disobey God. You know, so, and the Bible says that judgment will start in the house of God. So any house of God that is encouraging money laundering, his judgment is coming. You know, and if the law of the land, if the regulatory bodies, the law enforcement agencies want to do the right thing, they will expose. So it is about, do they want to do the right thing or not? It's not difficult. It's not difficult, Veronica. I've been a banker. It's not difficult. You see it in the account. You know, there's no long story there. Where did the money come from?
Absolutely.
It's simple. If you transfer to my account, the system will tell you where I got that money.
If certain monies get to your account,
there's a limit.
EFCC, the EFCC will flag you, and when you get to the account, they'll call you aside. It's important. I see you're smiling, and I'm sure you want to weigh in on some of the things he has said.
You know, the 1978 Mexican statement about public relations says it's the art and social science of monitoring trends and predicting their consequences. And you recommend what should be done to stakeholders to ensure mutual understanding and mutual goodwill. There is a danger coming in this country. And let me go scriptural. In Joshua chapter 6, from verse 1 to 20, God taught Joshua how to bring down the wall of Jericho because there was righteousness in the camp. And in verse 20, the wall came down flat. They went in to possess their possessions. But another time, they proceeded against the enemies, and they were beaten badly. And he went to God, and God said, there's an Achan that stole. And Joshua had to confront Achan in Joshua chapter 7, verse 25, that Achan, you have brought trouble upon us, and that trouble shall be your portion. And he was stoned to death. They heaped stone on him and all the wealth he stole and everything. So if we are celebrating corrupt riches, it will become more difficult to fight corruption, because God says righteousness exalts a nation. So we need repentance in this country now. We are talking about the youth. We engage them. We carry out seminars. You see, there is what you call modeling. These youths, they are highly impressionable. They want easy way of life. They want to enjoy. You see, and so they look out for those who will offer them that flamboyance. And we have been talking about the cost of government in this country. The other time we were talking about SUV. A member of the National Assembly came out to say the ministers have 3. And so we have about 48 ministers times 3 SUVs. Who fuels these vehicles? At what cost? Is Nigeria that rich? We are owing so much. So right now, the refinery paraded as being one of the biggest in the world and things is now buying crude oil from America because oil thieves have taken over our oil. And we are now, for me, whether it's a religious body or any, you see, we should look at the outcome of corruption on the nation.
Absolutely.
How can that percentage of our citizens be under multifaceted poverty window. Go and study China. China moved many citizens, millions, into the bracket of prosperity. You know, go and study Botswana, go and study Mauritius, go and study, you know, and these are issues. And we are here just romancing crime. And I pray that one day won't come that all those seminars they are doing to talk about, because if not for that gathering, maybe we will not even have heard about this religious body. That bandits won't come and confront them in the hall. Because if you read what is going on in Nigeria now, these criminals are getting so bold. They are not afraid of the system. And that is absolutely a turbulent storm that is coming. So my message this morning is that let the law enforcement, it is law enforcement, you enforce the law. A law that is not enforced is lame. Enforce the law to prevent. If you are thinking about human trafficking now or organ harvesting, you don't think about the UK because there is a precedent that it's not allowed here. Thinking about carrying drugs, you don't think about Indonesia. And that's what we are saying. Please shield this nation from further encroachment.
We have to wrap things up now.